up, everybody? Welcome into the Clutch Gene podcast. My name is Kyle. His name is Connor. We've got week 11 action for you this week, recapping everything that happened this previous week. We got a lot to talk about. We got some maybe sneaky playoff teams. Gonna talk about the Bills because they don't look good so far. It's not great for them. And we've got, what do we else do we have? Oh, Cliff Kingsbury. Does he deserve more respect? And as always, we got the best and the worst for you. Let's start out with first and goal. I called this one when I gave you the topics, playoffs or playouts, and that's not a very good name for the subject. So I'm still trying to workshop the idea here. I'll have something. You'll see it in this bottom little lower third here. I'll finally figure something out for what I'm going to call it. But basically, we've got some maybe sneaky playoff teams working their way up the ladder here. So we're going to mainly focus on the Colts, 49ers, Vikings, and Eagles. These are all teams that won this past week. I think all three won. All four won. Can't count. And they're kind of moving up the ladder. Vikings are in the playoffs right now. So here's what we got for you. The Colts are 6-5, currently the 9 seed in the AFC. They're behind the Steelers. The 49ers are 5-5. They're currently the 8 seed in the NFC, so just outside that playoff picture. The Vikings are 5-5 as well. They're currently the 6 seed in the NFC. And the Eagles are currently 5-6. They're the 9 seed in the NFC, right behind the 49ers. Connor, give me your thoughts on those teams. You can start wherever you want, and also rank them by how much you believe in them that they can make a push for the playoffs here.
Okay. I'm going to start with the Colts because after what they did this weekend to the Bills, it's kind of hard to not root for them. Obviously, I mean, have loved Taylor since college. Watching him run in Wisconsin was incredible, and watching him finally really have that big, huge breakout game. I mean, he's been playing really well, but to have that kind of game that he had against the Bills, who we all thought had, this great defense, which has fallen apart throughout the entire season. After that Chiefs game, they acted like they didn't know how to play defense anymore. They look great. They're running on all cylinders. That defense is playing the way we all wanted that defense to play, looking top to bottom. I mean, there's guys all over that defense who are stud players for them and great players in the league as a whole. I like the Colts. I think they're just getting started, even though we're, almost halfway through the season, over halfway through the season. And I think they kind of have it. The AFC South is not good outside of the Titans, and even the Titans don't look great right now. So I think they probably have a shot. The Niners, I don't know about just because they're in the same division as the Rams and the Cardinals. Even though the Rams have been spotty at times and the Cardinals aren't fully healthy, I don't know if they can break out of the NFC out of that just because they will be the third team in the NFC West. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. But right now, I'm not super high on that, considering the fact I think they play both the Cardinals and the Rams again this season. But I'm not sure. Vikings.
They play the Cardinals the last week of the they play the Rams the last week of the season, but they don't have the Cardinals again this season.
Well, even getting past the Rams again might be tough, even though it destroyed them the other week. Vikings, iffy. The NFC North is bad, really bad, outside of the Packers, obviously. And even though they look good, I think Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, and Dalvin Cook make Kirk Cousins look astronomically better than he is. And we know that. We've been saying that forever. If they make it in, they're going to be out in their wild card game. I don't see them being able to do anything just because Kirk Cousins is their quarterback. And I think that stops them from being the kind of team that can push forward no matter how good the pieces around him are. Even though we saw them play a great game this weekend, I don't think it's going to be enough down the road. And the Eagles, I love watching Justin Hurts. Everyone still gives Justin Hurts crap for all this kind of stuff. I really like him. I've always liked him.
Jalen Hurts,
sorry. But it's just, it's the Eagles. It's the same kind of thing. First off, it's the NFC East, and literally no one can make up their mind whether they want to win or not, no matter how poorly or how good another team is. The Cowboys, seemingly after this week, don't look like they want to win their own division again, and they're ahead by 2 games at this point, which still leaves the door open for the Eagles to maybe even catch up to them with how the Eagles are playing and how the Cowboys look right now. So they'll probably sneak in. Do they have a shot at making it? Probably not. I mean, I think the Colts are probably the only team that we're talking about in this that have a shot at making some kind of push just because their running game looks so strong right now. But out of the other ones, I'm not sold on anything. I don't think anyone makes a deep push out of this, but out of this whole thing, I think strength-wise, I think it's going to be Colts, Vikings, Niners, Eagles. And I kind of think that's how it's going to shake out. I don't think anyone has a real shot, but I think the Colts have the best shot at doing something if they get it.
Yeah. I'll go in the same order as you. I'll start with the Colts. Like I said, currently in the 9th seed. I should say the standings so far this year. The AFC obviously has the Titans, Ravens, Patriots, Chiefs, and then the wild cards are the Bengals, Chargers, and Bills, all at 6-4. The Colts currently sit at 6-5. And by the way, that division is not out of the question. With Derrick Henry gone, Titans do not look like the same team. That division is well in play. I don't think the Titans hold on to that 1 seed. The Titans are currently 8-3, so 2 losses and they'll tie the Colts if the Colts win the next 2. And in the NFC, we have the Cardinals, Packers, Buccaneers, Cowboys, with the wild cards being the Rams at 7-3. They're probably a lock for the playoffs. The Vikings at 5-5 and the Saints at 5-5. So those 2 wild card spots are really attainable in the NFC. Here's the thing. The Colts, the last 6 games, they have the Bucks, the Texans, the Patriots, the Cardinals, the Raiders, Jacksonville. Bucks, you can probably write down as a loss. I mean, I know the NFL has been unpredictable, and the Colts are a good team, and the Bucks have shown to have some weaknesses. But I don't know. If I'm just gonna judge these games by who's the better team, just mark it down as such. The Bucks are a better team than the Colts, so mark it down as a loss. Colts beat the Texans, so they are now 1-1 over the next 2. The Patriots are probably a better team at this point than the Colts. Colts have shown some flashes, but Patriots are a pretty well-rounded, well-coached team, so mark that down as a loss. Cardinals, if Kyler's back, we'll say the Cardinals are a better team. That's a loss, so they're now 1-3. Raiders, they're kind of a dumpster fire right now. They start off the season hot, and they've kind of gotten really cold. Turns out Henry Ruggs is a really important player for them, could stretch the field. So we'll mark that down as a win for them. And then Jacksonville, we'll mark it down as a win. So that has the Colts going 3-3, finishing 9-8 on the season. I don't think 9-8 is going to make the playoffs in the AFC. I really don't. Unless the Titans really start free-falling here and the Colts sneak away with the division, I don't think 9-8 is good enough to win the playoffs. So I agree with you. I like Jonathan Taylor. I've liked Jonathan Taylor for a long time. And the Colts currently rank number 4 in rushing offense, so clearly he's had a role in that. But I don't know. They've got a tough road ahead. They kind of needed to, at this point in the season, they kind of needed to come into this like 8-3, something like that, to make a push towards the playoffs, and they're not there. The 49ers, like I said, it's so tough with the NFC because those wild cards are so there for them. The 49ers play the Vikings this week, so the winner of that game will have a huge leg up in making that wild card. And the Saints, I feel like, is a very attainable position. I don't think the Saints are going anywhere with Trevor Siemian at quarterback or Taysom Hill at quarterback for that matter. So that's a very doable spot for any of these 3 teams to get. Of the 49ers, Vikings, Eagles, if I had to choose 2 of them, I'd probably choose the Eagles and the Vikings. I think the Vikings win this game against the 49ers. Then they have the Lions, very winnable game. Steelers, we'll see. Those teams are kind of even. Bears, very winnable game. Rams, probably a Rams game. Packers, probably a Packers game. Aaron Rodgers doesn't lose twice to the Vikings and Kirk Cousins in the same year. And the Bears. So that means that if we're going by that. We're listing them as going, what is this? Over their last 7 games, 1, 2, 3, 4, at worst 4-3. If I'm saying they beat the 49ers this week, that actually puts them at 9-8. So we're right back in that position. But I think 9-8 in the NFC is better than 9-8 in the AFC, because the AFC is just, and I think NFC is more top heavy, but the bottom is kind of lower. Whereas I think that the AFC is like, you don't know who's going to win on a given week. We've seen it. Yeah, they're all across the board. The number 1 seed is 8-3. The number 7 seed is 6-4. It's a 1-loss difference, you know. And then the Eagles are currently 5-6, but over their last 6 games, they have the Giants, winnable game. The Jets, very winnable game. The Washington football team, winnable. The Giants again. The football team again, and the Cowboys. So they have a chance here to make a late push for the division. I mean, if they just win against their divisional opponents and beat the Jets, they go into that last week of the season at 10-6. And if the Cowboys keep free falling here, you know, I mean, they've been injured, but if the Cowboys keep free falling, that last game could be for the division. So I think the Eagles have a really good opportunity here. They're number 2 in rushing offense. They're number 8 in offense overall. The only thing is they have the 20th ranked defense, so their defense is still bottom half of the league. That's the only thing I'm concerned about. But Jalen Hurts is going to be the key for the Eagles here, because he's cut down on the turnovers. Remember last year, the issue with Jalen Hurts was he turned over the ball too much, fumbled a lot. He's cut down on that. I think he only has like 5 interceptions on the season, and I think it's like 5 fumbles as well. It's something like that, somewhere in that range. So I mean, he's cut down on the turnovers majorly. He's going to be essential to. He's a big part of the reason that offense is number 2 in rushing. They're kind of running. It's not a Ravens style, but it's close.
Yeah, I mean, but he is that entire offense, right? Like, if you don't have him in there, that offense doesn't do anything.
Yeah. But I will also say Devonta Smith, turns out if you're the best receiver in college football, you'll figure out a way to be good in the NFL. Who knew? You know, who knew? Not me. Right. So who knew if you win the Heisman Trophy as a college football receiver, you're probably going to be pretty good in the NFL, and your weight doesn't really matter. But yeah, I mean, I'm looking at this. I'm really talking myself into the Eagles right now as I speak. They've got an easy schedule coming up. Easy schedule. 49ers, for anyone interested, have the Vikings, Seahawks, Bengals, Falcons, Titans, Texans, Rams. So, I mean, Vikings, Bengals, Titans, Rams are all really tough games. Seahawks, you never know what you're getting from them from week to week. They look like a dumpster fire right now. We said that already last week. The Falcons equally look like a dumpster fire. Yeah, so if I had to pick 2 teams out of these 4 to make the playoffs, I'm saying the Eagles and the Vikings. I actually have a lot of faith in the Eagles right now. I've really talked myself into it. I think
after schedule, I think I have to agree with you, because, I mean, the Giants are, after watching that game last night, it's just, where are they going? It's
fired Jason Garrett.
Yeah, I mean, good for them. Considering the fact that, I mean, Saquon Barkley doesn't look like pre-injury Saquon Barkley at this point, and I think that's partially due to the fact that their offensive line is horrendous. The best player in that is very obviously Kadarius Toney. Great for him, but you're playing on the Giants, so you know, not so great for him.
The issue that Saquon Barkley last night had flashes where you're like, man, Saquon Barkley is still really good. But the thing is, he's really good at evading these tackles, which is why you see him and say, wow, he's really good. But the issue is he keeps having to evade these tackles 3 yards behind the line of scrimmage, you know?
Yeah. So it's like,
he can only do so much.
That's the best 1 yard run I've ever seen in my entire life.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, I think the Eagles could go into the last game not even needing to win to make the playoffs. I mean, at that point, that might be just for positioning. At that point, I don't know who the Cowboys have left to play. I know they play the Raiders this week, but
yeah, I mean, but then you have to see what Taylor Heineke does, because that dude is an absolute electric show. I mean,
He's a wild
watching
card.
it is so much fun.
I mean, yeah, it's the Eagles, so like none of these games are gimmies, but it's about as easy as a schedule as you can get without having the Jaguars or the Texans on your schedule.
Yeah.
Like or Lions. That's about as easy of a schedule as you can possibly get here.
Yeah.
All right. I think we're all done with that topic, right? Let's move on. We're going to second and goal. The Bills do not look good. Does not look good. You referenced them last topic with the Colts. No bueno for the Bills. Are they fraudulent? Connor, I'll let you go. I won't even give any background.
I think we both agree. We both really like the Bills. Like, I love Josh Allen. That every guy on that team, you want to root for the Bills because they just have such a likable team. Like that entire team, the organization, the fans, like you just want to root for Buffalo. And after that Kansas City game, we both said, we're like, holy, and that goes back to the curse that we have on this podcast. Every time we say some team is going for it, they inevitably, just absolutely crash. And I think the curse has worked the hardest on the Bills. And that's, very evident. And obviously we know that
the Bills,
the
Raiders also have a shout to that because we said that they were looking pretty good this season and they've had 2 players arrested and things haven't been well for them.
So, the Bills after that Chiefs game looked like they forgot how to play defense entirely. Completely and utterly forgot how to tackle someone with a football. 2, they don't have running game. Outside of Josh Allen, they cannot run the football. And as big and athletic as Josh Allen is, you do not want him running 10 times a game. It's not what you want. He is an absolute nuclear powerhouse with his arm throwing the football. But he's started to make mistakes again. They can't have him running so much. They don't have a run game. And it just looks like they're lost. At the beginning of the season, we knew who they were. It was Josh Allen throwing absolute cannons down the field to great receivers with some running mixed in, whether it was Josh Allen or their backfield. And their defense was solid. Now it's like you watch them and you're just like, what happened? What went wrong? Where did we get to a point where Josh Allen's making turnovers and decisions that we saw him make 2 years ago when he looked like an absolute bust with these flashes of just wow to back to it again in the course of 4 weeks. And that team just kind of fell apart. And now everything's up for grabs again. The Pats are coming back. They look good. And now it's, the AFC East is like, wow, you know what? The Pats could just walk away with this thing and have no contention from the Bills. And we've talked about how, it was supposed to be the Bills division for the next, possibly 5 years. We knew Bill Belichick wasn't going to be bad forever. And the Pats aren't capable of doing that. Did we think they were going to turn around in a single season? No. But now it's kind of this thing where it's like, well, the Pats are back. The Bills, you were supposed to kind of run this thing for at least a little while. And now it's like, okay, well, the AFC East is back to being the AFC East. What do we do? And it's really disappointing because I wanted, and we both wanted the Bills to be good and to get another shot at the Chiefs in an AFC title game, possibly have a shot at a Super Bowl. And now we're looking at it now and being like, well, maybe they'll pull something out and be the 4 seed, if not lower at this point. I don't know. I'm disappointed in the Bills right now, and that's about all I can say about it.
Yeah, I got some stats for you. So, the Bills started off the year at 4-1. They're now 2-3 over the last 5, putting them at 6-4. Their wins have come against the Dolphins twice, the Washington football team, the Texans, the Chiefs, and the Jets. That's a combined record of 23-40 against all those teams. I think the Chiefs are the only team in that mix with a winning record. Their losses have come to the Steelers, week 1, which everybody thought was a fluke at first. The Jaguars, the Titans, and the Colts. Their combined record is 21-20-1 because the Steelers have that tie. You take out the Jags and we'll call that game a fluke. And the combined record of the three teams they've lost to is 19-12-1. Colts, Titans, Steelers all have winning records. Colts, Titans, Steelers all competing for the playoffs right now. Bills are kind of having an issue here of they're taking care of business against the weak teams, but the better teams are kind of exposing them. Also, what do the Colts, Titans, and Steelers all have? Good defenses. All of them. Steelers, probably one of the best defenses in the league. I mean, they're keeping that team afloat. Colts defense much improved. Titans defense vastly improved. I also have some Josh Allen stats. Over the first 5 games of the season, he had 12 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Didn't look at rushing stats. I probably should have, but I didn't. Over the last 5 games that he's played, 9 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. So, not doing so good for Joshy here. That's 3 touchdowns to every 2 interceptions, as opposed to 6 touchdowns for every interception. And then that means that the Bills' offense has suffered. Over the first 5, they were averaging 34.4 points per game. That would have put them top in the league. The last 5, they're averaging 24.6 points per game. Their defense, on the other hand, first 5 games, dominant, pitched 2 shutouts in that time, 12.8 points per game over the first 5 games. That's pretty good. Over the last 5 games, 22.4 points per game. Big drop-off. But if you take out this last Colts game where the Colts lit them up for 41, 17.75 points per game over the last 5. So still a drop-off, but still one of the better defenses in the league, all things considered. Josh Allen needs to get better. He just needs to play better, flat out. And I know the Bills don't have any rushing game whatsoever, and that's going to hurt them, especially against teams with good defenses, as we've seen. But Josh Allen has to be better. He has to take care of the football more. He has to... he's got to carry. And you know what? I don't feel bad in saying that, because what we expect from quarterbacks that we put at the level that we have Josh Allen at, where most people would put him as a top, at minimum, top 8 guy in the league, and you need to carry your team when the going gets rough. This is something that we wanted Dak to do against the Chiefs. I'll get to Dak later. Don't worry. But you need your franchise guy, the guy that everybody regards as a top 8. Most people would put him top 5 in the league right now. You would need him to be able to carry your team, and he's just not doing that right now. All right. He's got Stephon Diggs. He's got Emmanuel Sanders. Dawson Knox is a pretty good tight end. He's got weapons. His defense, have they dropped off? Yes. Was 41 points against the Colts ideal? No. All right, but overall this season they've played pretty good. They've played good enough to be, 9-1. They've played good enough to be up there as a defense, even if you give them the Colts loss. He just needs to be better overall. That offense has weapons. I know that they don't have a running game, but sometimes you're not going to have it all. I get it that it's tough not having a run game, but figure it out. Patrick Mahomes hasn't had a run game in 3 years. Right. So, we got to figure it out here. They're in trouble because, like you said, the Patriots are looking really good. And I still think the Bills are a better team than the Patriots. But the issue is the Patriots just look so much more disciplined than the Bills. The way they're playing right now, this is going to sound crazy, but the way they're playing right now, I would take Mac Jones over Josh Allen. Just purely based off play. And trust me, I am not a Patriots fan by any stretch of the imagination. And I get that Josh Allen's talent is 100 times more than Mac Jones probably will ever have, right? He's 100 times better than Mac Jones might ever be, and his ceiling is super high. But if we're going off how they are playing in the moment right now, Mac Jones throws on time, Mac Jones doesn't turn over the football, Mac Jones does what he needs to do to get the team's wins. All right, and I get that it's situation. So Mac Jones, obviously, if Josh Allen had Bill Belichick as a head coach in the New England Patriots roster, he'd probably be doing pretty good too. But in the end, Josh Allen has to be better, and Mac Jones has been really good. So at this point in time, if we're going off purely how they've played recently, I'd take Mac Jones, and that's an insult to Josh Allen. To be honest, it's not meant to be, but it is. He's a top 5 guy in the league. You've got to figure it out. Patrick Mahomes figured it out clearly.
Yeah, you can't be the second best quarterback in your division, and what? 2 of them are rookies. One of the rookies hasn't played in how many weeks now? Tua. We saw Tua make more Tua plays this weekend. He just can't be there. That's just kind of unacceptable for Josh Allen and the entire Bills organization. You just can't let that happen, and that's something they need to fix. This isn't a fix where you can be like, okay, Josh, like you can figure it out. This has to be a now fix, because if the Bills all of a sudden just tank at the end of the season and can't figure it out, they're going to be in a really bad spot, because that organization, the fan base, everything had such high hopes for this team coming into this season that if they just blow that stuff out of the water and let, the Pats walk away with another division title after supposed to be, the little brother to the Bills until they figure it out again, it's unacceptable for the Bills. And they need to fix this now, because if they don't, they're going to get knocked back into something that they've been going through for the past, since Jim Kelly, since the 4 straight Super Bowl losses. And that's kind of what might happen to the Bills. And Jim Kelly had the same thing. They had a great team, and then all of a sudden everything just falls apart when they need it the most. And that's kind of where they are now. Obviously, we're still in the regular season, but that's kind of what the Bills do.
I don't have any reserves against them making the playoffs. Like, I think that they will make the playoffs. We went over the Colts and their schedule they have coming up. It's not looking great for them. But if the Bills keep the way they're playing, and let's say they end the season as the 7th seed, which they are right now, they're behind the Bengals and Chargers for the wild card, and behind the Patriots for the division. They would play the Ravens right now in the first round of the playoffs. And I know that the Ravens are kind of hot and cold, and I don't know what to tell you about them, because I trust Lamar. In the playoffs, it's a little bit of a different story. It's been throughout his career, but I'm going to trust Lamar. I don't know what I'm getting from every other player on the Ravens is the problem. But guess what? I also don't know what I'm getting from the Bills.
From any player on the Bills. There's
on a week-to-week basis
where you're like, hey, this guy's going to show up this week. You don't have it.
I mean, one week they look like the most dominant defense. The next week they let up 5 touchdowns to Jonathan Taylor. Yeah. So it's not an ideal matchup. Whereas, let's say they won the division and took where the Patriots right now are in the playoff picture. The Bills would play the Chargers, and the Chargers have been about as hot and cold as any team in the NFL this year. Also a young team, young head coach. So that's the opportunity there, because we know John Harbaugh has been there, done that with the playoffs. You're not going to see any screw-ups from John Harbaugh. I'm going to knock on wood because I don't want to curse them, because I know how this works. The Chargers, young coach, young quarterback, never really been in that moment before. Really good opportunity to steal a first-round win there, just purely on the basis of the Chargers haven't been there. Like, with this group of guys, Keenan Allen is, I think, the only guy that was on the team when they made the playoffs last. Maybe Austin Eckler was in a secondary role to Melvin Gordon. This would have been like 3 years ago at this point, 4 years ago. But yeah, so there's a lot on the line here for the Bills. If the Bills took the 4 seed, and let's say the Chiefs moved up the standings, and the Bills won the division, took the 4 seed, they would play the Bengals, who, again, hot and cold as any team this year, another young team. You can take advantage of that. So winning the division has a lot of repercussions here for these playoffs. I know we've said that all the teams are close, but it's the difference between playing the Ravens round 1 and the Bengals round 1.
Yeah, big time. Or even the Chargers round 1.
Those teams are 1 win apart, but, I mean, there's a clear team I would rather play. I think I'd rather coach against Zach Taylor than I would against John Harbaugh, one of the best coaches of his generation.
Yeah. I even take Staley, right? Like, I'd even rather play the Chargers out of that. And
Right.
I mean, or, one thing that you win a close game against the Chargers, or you get Justin Herbert that everyone loves watching and you lose by 2 touchdowns.
Right.
Like, that's kind of
So they kind of need to figure it out here. Even if they moved and won the division and faced the Patriots first round, based on pure talent of both teams, the Bills would have a sizable advantage. Now you're going against Bill Belichick, so anything can happen. But a division opponent that you played twice this year, they beat them the first time. We'll see if they beat them the second time. Yeah, there's a lot in the line here for them. I think of all the teams that could drop out, that they could play as the wild card, the Ravens are the last team I would want to play. The Ravens and the Chiefs, because the Chiefs look like they're getting hot. I mean, I know it's been 2 weeks, so it's tough to say, but the Chiefs look like they're getting hot at the right time here. But yeah, Bills, I mean, to answer the question, are they fraudulent? Probably kind of a little bit. They've been pretty fraudulent. I mean, I don't think it's out there to say. All right, let's take a quick break.